Hmm.
So what should men do? Because like I said, it goes back to men want solutions.
Hmm.
Okay, if men open up, women talk them off. Obviously, not all women,
Yeah.
but what should men do then? And it's even actually, I'm going to ask you two-part questions. What should men do? Because every time they open up, they get shut down. They called all sorts of names because women finally realized men have been thinking these things for so long. Men finally
Hmm.
have standards. How dare you have standards for me? I'm the
Hmm.
prize, because that's what they all say, right?
Hmm.
And then, and I'm going to two-part question. The second one is they claimed, and RIP to the GOAT, Kevin Samuels, they claimed he was too harsh when he spoke up.
Hmm.
They claimed he was mean. They claimed he was, they called him all sorts of names. They celebrated his death, right? And here comes, and the reason I'm bringing up Kevin Samuels, because you've been compared to him, right? But then
Hmm.
here comes brother Jeff, very, very eloquent, right? Very compassionate in the way he talks to the ladies, very, nice and sweet. You kind of cater to their feelings. I'm not going to lie, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then you speak so with such kindness, like it comes from a good place.
Hmm.
You're not harsh. That's what women usually told Kevin Samuels, that he's being too harsh, he's being too mean. And guess the first thing they do once you go viral? Oh, he's not a therapist for real. They don't
Hmm.
even listen. Like, they make all these kind of faces when you're speaking up. When you put the mirror in their face, they now, okay, we have a guy who speaks so nicely.
Hmm.
So what's the way forward? Because looks like being mean is not good, but also
Yeah.
being straightforward and kind is not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So the starting point when it comes to meet, if men started actually meeting with therapists, men and women who are a little bit more nuanced and able to understand male issues and male perspectives, these are therapists who probably market themselves that way. So they'll easily stand out from the average therapist. They will teach you how to better communicate with the women that you're doing life with. And you'll actually start to learn some strategies and techniques that are extremely helpful. I'm not going to spoil it too much because I'm actually going to do an episode this week where and the episode is going to be titled How to Stop Debating and Arguing with Women, where I'm going to go through 4 or 5 steps where step by step, a lot of traps and mistakes that men make when we're talking to women is what ultimately results in why the conversation ends up going nowhere and even ends up escalating. But one thing that I will say with it is if you go to someone else first, like a man or a woman who's trained to help you to better communicate with women, that's always a good first step. Don't assume that the woman that you're doing life with tends to do and handle these things well. And one of the ways that you can kind of test this theory out to see how well she could be with hearing things that perhaps aren't super favorable is seeing how she responds when you make a comment about another woman or women in general and it's not positive. So, not about her specifically, but about women. Like you see something on social media, a celebrity, there's always random things that can be talked about. You're going to look to see how she reacts and responds to that because it's broad, it's general, it's not personal. And we're going to see if she's a little bit more open, if she's a little bit more flexible, or if she's very rigid and sticking with the sisterhood. Because that's a really easy sign of, oh, you might be dealing with a covert feminist who always is going to defend women's actions no matter what. If you look at it through that lens, you'd be like, all right, now I see what I'm working with here. Now, personally, I probably now that I know what I know about how this behavior manifests and how bad it is to try to change and alter, I, I I'm gonna cut the cord very early with that personally. But that's just one technique where you can kind of see early on if she's even. It's almost like testing the waters to see how much depth she actually does or doesn't have emotionally. When you do that, you'll pretty much get this. You'll pretty easily see like, yeah, if she's reacting this strongly to me saying that what Cardi B did was foul, cheating on a man while she's pregnant, and she's like, well, you don't know what she went through. Oh, wait a minute. This is the most one of the most disgusting things that a woman could ever do in the course of humanity, and you're coming up with excuses to get skirt around accountability for her. If she's going to excuse something like that for somebody she don't know and doesn't know her, what do you think she's going to do with you when you try to point out something she actually did in your relationship or interaction with her? Right. So that's one thing that I think a lot of guys, and again, it almost makes sense where it's like, if you just observe them on social media and things are trending, how influenced is she by the women around her? How influenced is she if you find out little things about her girlfriends and her girlfriend keys somebody's car or was stalking some dude at his job or whatever, and ask her like, man, isn't that crazy? What do you think about that? Like, is that just your homegirl? Like, you think, did you tell her anything? What you say to her? Like, did you tell her like that's crazy? No, she's just going through a lot right now. Whoa. That again, like a lot, what I'm realizing is a lot of us as men, we ignore all these red flags and then we wait until it's time to tell her something difficult and are shocked when it's like a bomb explodes in a relationship. They're usually telling on themselves way before we get to the point where we have to share something with them that's very personal. That the way they live, the way they carry themselves, the behaviors that they ignore, that's negative, the things that they kind of downplay, that's bad within their own friend groups or population with other women. These are things you can start paying attention to long before you get to the point where you're actually quote unquote opening up about actual things that can actually hurt you.
Man, you just literally talked about exactly what most guys go through, but also there's even um, a small video I wanted to play exactly what you said is that what the guy was saying, because
Mm.
you're gonna have so-called good women,
Mm-hmm.
but their friend groups are feminists. So chances are, even if she's a good girl, but
Mm-hmm.
the friends groups that, because you're gonna get in a relationship. Once you guys have issues, guess who she's gonna run to for advice? The feminist friends,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
And who are they going to lean with? Who are they going to always defend? Her.
her. So
Yep.
she's never gonna hold herself accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So you said so you're pretty much saying men should kind of give them a test on
Yes.
just normal things to see.
Yeah.
But that sounds, I'm gonna be honest, but that sounds like men gonna have to vet maybe like 1,000 women.
No, I mean, believe it or not, it gets easier when you know what you're looking for up front. So for me, I start realizing that they got a uniform that they tend to wear. They tend to treat makeup a certain way. They tend to post certain things on social media. They tend to have a certain cohort of women around them that acts a certain way. Once you start seeing these things, you might not even make it to the date. You may not even ask them out. So once you start seeing all these spheres of influence and how much they're influenced, that's telling you how much work it's going to be to try to get her to start becoming a much more objective and balanced thinker. And you're like, if you're the type of guy like I've arrived to, you stamp that out early and be like, nope, that's a done deal. If she's arguing with other men on social media, dead on arrival. DOA, RIP. I'm not even that's not happening. I'm just not doing it. And this is another great one. When you ask her about her past and her relationships, how much time and energy and how much is emotional stock is she putting into men and talking about and describing and discussing men from the past who she's no longer with when she's supposed to be entertaining you? If her whole emotions start getting all crazy and she starts going crazy about her exes, you think she's gonna be calm with you? And she's reacting that way with men who she hasn't dealt with in 6 months to a year plus? Come on. So what I'm saying is that's actually emotional intelligence. A lot of the emotional intelligence for men is what we need to be practicing up front, not actually while we're with them. I mean, of course, you still need it when you're with them, but if we actually improved our emotional intelligence and screening process beforehand, beyond the fact that she looks good and the sex is good, we would know whether or not she's more than likely a woman that's worth opening up to and actually discussing these things with.